I'm Linda Elsegood, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us. Today we're joined by pharmacist Rick Upson, the owner of the Palm Beach Pharmacy in Florida. Thank you for joining us, Rick.
Thank you.
Could you tell us how long ago it was when you became involved in LDN?
Yes. I started working in compounding pharmacy in 2006, and I before that I'd worked in a lot of other areas of pharmacy, but I'd never heard of LDN. And then and I worked for about 2 years in compounding pharmacy as an employee at another pharmacy, and then I bought Palm Beach Compounding Pharmacy in March 2009, and that's when I first heard of LDN, because the previous pharmacy owner had been compounding LDN for some patients. Before that, I'd never heard of it. So March 2009 was when I first heard of it.
Okay. So since you started compounding it, what forms do you actually use?
Yeah, most people we make capsules for, and we use Avicel as the excipient, and the other forms we make are the oral liquid. We make an oral liquid, 5 milligrams per ml, which works out really well when you dispense it with a 1 cc syringe, because each tenth of a cc equals a half a milligram. And so it's easy for people to see the major increments on the 1 cc syringe, and I give them a chart that shows them how many ml is equal to how many milligrams, and that's really useful when people first start out and they're in the initial titration upward phase, and because they can control, if changing dose once a week is too quick for them, they can stay at the same dose longer. They can even go down if they want, or up and play around with the dose, try to find the dose that suits them best. And then the other form we make is a topical cream, and that's been prescribed a couple times by Dr. Brian Udell, which is not too far away from where we are. He's in Davie, Florida, I think, and that's Fort Lauderdale, and we're in Palm Beach, so about a little less than an hour drive away. And so we filled some of his prescriptions for topical LDN cream.
What about sublingual drops?
I don't think we've made that, just the oral liquid. I haven't tried sublingual drops.
The only reason I mention that is Dr. Jill Smith, when she did her Crohn's studies, she found that people who found that LDN upset their stomach, the way in which it's absorbed, if they have sublingual, it bypasses the stomach, she found that helped, and people were able to tolerate it, those few that had such bad upset stomachs.
Yeah, I don't think we've made that before. I think we made LDN in troches once or twice, which is like a pharmacy language for lozenge. A troche is a lozenge.
All right.
And it dissolves in the mouth and works kind of like sublingual drops. It goes through the lining of the mouth rather than to the stomach and then to the liver, where it'll be metabolized.
Well, that's interesting. Being a pharmacist, has anybody reported any negative effects for taking LDN? No, not. I really haven't heard any negative effects. I'm afraid, like, sometimes what happens is, rather than reporting the negative effects, people might just stop taking the medicine. So a lot of times there might be negative effects that I don't hear about. But I've been reading the LDN book, and in there it says approximately 8% of the people
have sleep disturbance or vivid dreams, and that's by far the most common side effect. And only 8%, I think, is pretty low incidence. So most of the people who take it, unless I call them up and ask them about it, I don't really get much feedback usually. And so I probably should do more calling up and talking to people after they've been on it for a little while and try to get more information about how it's working for them.
Do you know what conditions your patients take LDN for?
We've had patients take it for fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, autism, and other things like ADD and other behavioral disorders. We've had some patients with rheumatoid arthritis. We had one patient, she had lupus. So yeah, we've had quite a wide range. The one I'm most familiar with is the fibromyalgia, because a neighbor across the street has fibromyalgia, and she's been taking LDN now for about 2 years, and she's told me that a couple times she was negligent in getting her refills promptly, and then decided, well, let me just see what happens if I stop for a little while. And her a lot of the symptoms that had been previously helped by LDN started to return, and so she got back on the LDN again, and then the symptoms went away again. So she's definitely being helped by this, and she's the one I'm most familiar with because she lives right across the street. I see her all the time, and we make LDN for her.
People make me smile when they say, LDN is working really, really well for me. It's given me my life back. I feel like me. I can do most things that I used to be able to do. So how long have I got to take it for? Well, if you want it to keep working, you've got to keep taking it, Just make me
right,
smile.
Exactly. Yeah. I know that in some cases it can take a while to start working. Some people notice some fairly immediate effects, like in less than a week's time. But in the LDN conference, they said that can take sometimes as long as 3 months to get the full effect of what the drug's going to do for you. And I know there's like a lot of people have a problem with being patient. They just 3 months is a long time to take something if you're not getting immediate results. Americans in particular were very impatient people. I try to tell them to just keep taking it, and at least 3 months, and before you make your mind up about it.
Strangely enough, as you know, with autoimmune conditions, most of them are progressive. So if you can halt the progression, that's amazing, isn't it? If you can just stop it from getting worse. We've found by surveys that we have done that most people notice something around the 4-month mark. There are others that say they have no improvements in symptoms whatsoever, but where they were deteriorating rapidly, they'd stabilised. Again, by 4 months, they'd noticed that they hadn't deteriorated any further. Then there was a group of people, interestingly, I don't know why, but the people who had stabilised, after 15 to 18 months of being stable on LDN, their symptoms started to improve. So I have no idea what that's about, but all I can say for myself is I've got MS. It did continue to improve for 18 months. It is a case of being patient, and the number of people that will contact me after being on LDN for a month, if they're on the liquid LDN, I've just used my whole bottle, then it hasn't worked for me. It would be amazing if you could have all your symptoms go in just a month. That would be good, but as we know, LDN isn't like that. But there are people who do show benefits, and I think they're the people that post it online which then makes other people who have just started rather impatient because they don't notice the results so quickly.
Yeah, I was alerted by a patient that there's a Facebook page devoted to LDN called Got Endorphins ? And you probably have been there already, but I didn't know about it until a patient alerted me to that. And there's a lot of patient stories on the Facebook page, gotendorphins.com, Got Endorphins ? On Facebook. You've heard of that, right?
Yes, I have. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've been there a few times, and yeah, there's a lot of good patient stories on that Facebook page. I've been learning a lot from reading the book. I'm most of the way through the thyroid chapter in the book. I started at the very beginning of the book, and I've been reading a little bit here and there when I get a little free time. And the book is really amazing, and I bought 20 copies from the publisher for the half price and free shipping rate, and I've already sold all but 4 copies, so I got to put in another order for another 20 books. And I found the book is really amazing, but unfortunately some of it's kind of technical for lay people to understand, but it is really amazing book. The chapter on the thyroid is really incredible because it not only tells you about LDN and how it helps in thyroid conditions, but it also helps you get a really good understanding of thyroid function and what tests and how the thyroid works and so I feel like I've gotten a lot of just really good information on thyroid function in addition to LDN reading that chapter. It's pretty amazing.
Well, that's good. Well, the publishers said yesterday that they'd sold over 4,000 copies, and since the book hasn't been out until 2 months tomorrow, it's done really, really well. And we had another pharmacist who'd ordered 20 books. I didn't know which one it was, and I thought maybe it was you. But anyway, they put the books out for sale on like the Monday, and on the Wednesday they'd all gone. So they had to order more. So I know, that was very quick.
That was quicker than me, but
yeah. Well, it depends as well where you are and what your base is for people having LDN, I guess. But yeah, the book was aimed for the layperson and the doctors, and yes, I think some of it is a little bit technical for the layperson, but there's enough information in there that everybody can understand. I don't think, the technical bits, I don't think that really matters.
I've mainly been trying to get the book out to doctors that we work with, and they, of course, not have too much trouble understanding the way it's written, because I'm trying to get more and more doctors to prescribe it. And I know a lot of doctors that treat things that would benefit from LDN. I know doctors who treat a lot of GI disease, like gastroenterologists who treat Crohn's disease and inflammatory bowel disease. I know a lot of doctors that treat things like fibromyalgia and other difficult to treat diseases like that or conditions, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess you'd say. So I've been trying to get the book in the hands of as many doctors that I work with as possible, because they a lot of doctors I know that are so-called thinking outside the box type doctors have never heard of LDN before, and it's really amazing to me. And because I would think that and we do work with a lot of those doctors, because doctors who prescribe compounded medicine are usually the kind of doctors that think outside the box.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us, Rick. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.